Good morning, Laguna Woods. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in this morning. We got a very fun show this morning. Chris Meyer is my guest, and Chris is the owner operator. Or what's actually, if you're the owner, you can give yourself any title, can you not?
Right. Yeah, owner, franchise partner.
Okay.
This is the Expedia Cruise Ship Center's franchise in Oak Brook Village, down where Woody's and Trader Joe's is.
I love it. And actually, well, anyway, I thought you're getting a new location though
We
too.
just opened a new location in Laguna Niguel.
That's one by a soup plantation.
Correct.
So you can go
Yes.
anyway. But anyway, Chris is a good friend, and we're going to do a fun thing with Chris. I'm going to start with the verse for the day that Chris picked out, and it's so good because this is what we're going to do, Chris, on our cruise. And when I say on our cruise, you're going to hear about it in literally a minute or two. But Psalm 66:5 says this: Look at God's wonders. They'll take your breath away. Now, that's a amplified version, but I looked at it, it's very accurate, and it's so true. When you look at what God has made, He has done great work, shall we say.
Definitely.
And my favorite place is Alaska. And I've traveled a lot around the world, but I literally love Alaska. I've spent uh, my wife and I actually have spent a couple of months up there when you add up all the time that we've done, but we've never taken a cruise until now. And so Chris has done several cruises for me in the past, and I had booked one for next August that goes from, well, actually, why don't you tell about that cruise?
Well, it's pretty nice. You get on the ship in San Pedro in your flip-flops, and a couple of days later, you're looking at the glaciers and putting your warmer clothes on. So it's a 14-day round trip LA, all the way up to Alaska.
That's
No flight necessary.
Oh, well, that's how we got into it, because my wife especially, but me too, we're so tired of flying. And so we thought, I started by just saying, where can we go from LA to LA?
Right.
And that includes Alaska. And we love long cruises. We don't panic that I have to eat, clean out the buffet the first day, because I've got plenty of time.
You can try everything.
I can't. Well, so we got this idea and we said, well, what if we got a group of people, primarily from Saddleback Church, Laguna Woods, but anyone else would be welcome to sign in also, because a lot of folks just in Laguna Woods watch this show, and we'd love to have you join us. But can you tell us, well, I guess, first of all, do you remember any of the places we go, or?
I do, and I would just say, related to that verse, if there's one place that's going to take your breath away, it's Alaska. The vastness of the nature there and the explosion of God's creation is just in your face the whole time. So it's amazing. Like one of the places we were talking about is the Hubbard Glacier, and the Hubbard Glacier, a glacier is a frozen river. So the Hubbard Glacier is 6 miles wide as it calves big
That is
icebergs
crazy.
into the ocean, and the height of the Empire State Building in some places. So think of that mouth of a river. In fact, the cruise ship can't even get closer than 5 miles to it, but it still looks big at 5 miles because of all the little icebergs there that you can't hit.
Is that right?
But when you're there, the eagles are circling overhead, the dolphins are jumping, outside of you, and the glacier is calving these big chunks of ice into the ocean. It's just amazing.
Well, every time I've been up there too, Chris, I've seen whale after whale. I don't know. I mean, I know you can't guarantee that, but or
Well,
can you?
well, what's interesting, in one of our trips, my wife was a teacher for 20 years, and so she took her students year after year out of Dana Point whale watching, and
Yeah.
sometimes they would see whales, and sometimes they wouldn't, and it was what it was. We did whale watching outside of Juneau, Alaska, and we saw them bubble feeding. We had a display that was amazing, and if you don't know what bubble feeding in whales are, whales are mammals, and they're families that stick together, and they're in pods. And when the babies are weaning away from their mother's milk to solid food, they just can eat plankton at that point. So the male whales dive deep. You see those flutes going up and shoot bubbles through their spout up, and it sends a lot of the plankton up to the surface so the baby whales can skim it off. And when you see that, it's just an amazing
I want to see
thing.
that.
And we got to see it for about a half hour. And my wife said, I've been whale watching off of Dana Point 25 times, and I've never seen anything like this.
Well, our whales out here, Chris, because I've done a lot of sailing here too, and you see that there they are. But up there, invariably, I've had them follow us. I've had, it's just unbelievable.
It's fantastic.
But that's something I want to do. And and so we actually go to some cities that I've never been to because I always drove when I was up there. And I know Juneau is one of those that has no roads to it.
Juneau's on an island. So the southeastern part of Alaska is a big archipelago, and it's a lot of islands. And a lot of it can't be reached by highway. In fact, in Juneau, they say there's only 3 ways in, by plane, boat, and birth canal. So...
on our ship, I'm not expecting any of number 3. but anyway, well, I love all this. And one of the things that I did for the first time on my last trip to Alaska was halibut fishing. And I know that, you only have days there, but that's one thing I want to do as an excursion. And then I know that they'll ship it back home for me.
Well, there's 2 things you can do with your halibut when you're on this princess ship. You can ship it back home, or you can bring a little bit of it back to the ship and give it to the chef, and they'll cook it for you for dinner if you want. So
that'd be awesome. It's all awesome.
Yeah.
One of the things that I often say, Chris, is that worship is a heart and mind focused on God. And that's one of the goals I have for this group of people that are going to go with us. It's people that I hope that, you're going to arrange for us to meet and have daily devotions together. The 3 days we're at sea, going and coming. I know in port, I don't expect to do that because we'll be off. But I hope that then we'll talk about the sculptor of all we're going to see, who is the Lord. And then we're going to go out and see what he's painted, so to speak.
Right, and when you meditate, when you're out in nature on the wonder of it, it can't help but be inspiring if you're in the right frame of mind.
Yeah. So this particular group is a little bit different. I encourage you, we've put up the flyer on the screen, and the thing is this, when I started talking about this with Chris, he says, if you get enough people, then the cruise ship line will, I think he used the word comp your room or something like that. But I don't feel good about that because I was going anyway. So what's the plan? Or can you speak to that?
Sure. So at every certain increment of people, the cruise line basically provides a chunk of cash, essentially, that could provide a free room. But what we're going to do is we're going to distribute it out in extra onboard credit to cover your gratuities and excursions. So depending on how many people we get, there's a certain chunk of onboard credit that everybody will get initially anyway, depending on what cabin they booked, but we'll just add to that as the group gets bigger. So we'll just distribute it back.
So I feel really good about that, so that all of us will go for a little less than we would have if we didn't go as a group. In fact, you got us just for forming a group of $50 or something, as I recall. But it's all going to be good. And Chris, I'm just so thankful that you and Susan, your wife Susan, his name's on the flyer also. So when you call the number, you'll either get Chris or Susan, and either one of them extremely experienced and helpful, and they'll put you with, let them know that, what do they say actually? I'm in the group with Rick.
Just say the Saddleback group or the Rick Bradford group or however you say, August 8th, 2020.
It seems like a long way away, but it's not. And all you have to do is put down your deposit and come with us. It's almost like a church retreat on board. That's how I'm viewing it. Laguna Woods, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I hope you'll consider coming to see God's wonders with us. Have a great day.